Good morning, guys. So we are back onto the first session of the week, week 2, I think, just over week 2 maybe of the lockdown sessions. Today we're going to be doing an advanced flexibility session, so you do need to be already at a good level of flexibility to follow this one along. So we'll be doing splits, middle splits, and they're like the main focuses of this session. So hope you guys enjoy. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, give this video a thumbs up, and let's get on with stretching. First we're going to do 10 leg swings on each side, so we're going to use as much momentum as we can, kicking the leg forwards and then backwards. Make sure when you're in this position your upper body is staying straight. And then we're going to change to 10 on the other leg. 1, 2, you normally want to do the outside leg, but I didn't have a bench which was set up. 4, to try and balance with the other hand. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And next we're going to do leg kicks to the side, so again using momentum, bring the leg across the body and then kicking as high as you can laterally. And we're going to do 10 on each leg. Then we're going to change sides, 10 on the other leg. So this is just preparing our body for our splits training. If you want to, you can do a bit of a warm up first, or do a bit of aerobic exercise just so your body's nice and warm. Now we're going to get into our lunge sequence. So we're going to do a bit of ballistic lunging. We're coming into our first lunge position. We're doing 10 little pulses in this position. Then we're going to come into a low lunge, straightening the front leg, flexing the front foot, 10 pulses in this position. And then back into a forwards lunge, back leg off the ground and 10 pulses. So you're really trying to push that back hip flexor down to the ground. And then we're going to go into a deep static stretch, not very long, again focusing on pushing that back hip down to the ground. So grabbing the back foot in. Then we're going to go into a reverse high lunge, back into our ballistic stretching. So 10 little pulses, both legs should be straight, chest should be down towards the front leg. Next we're going into needle kicks, so again preparing for our split position, aiming to get the leg to vertical, 10 dynamic, basically needle kicks. Then we're going to go into 10 kickbacks. Again, you can have a bit of an arch in the lower back for these, really focusing on getting that leg vertical to the ceiling. This is a really good exercise for working on glute strength as well. It's really important when you're doing your splits and flexibility training, you're also working on strength as well, which is what I focus on a lot in my sessions. Then I'm going to slide down to a split position, and you can either hold this position, you can lean forwards, you can lean backwards, or you can do an overstretched split with your foot on an elevated surface, which I'll do in a minute. We're aiming to hold for about 30 seconds to a minute. Obviously, if you're doing this as the follow along, you can hold longer. Just pause the video if you need to. So I'm leaning forwards, chest is flat down towards my front leg, I'm flexing the front foot, I'm just holding that position. Find this is probably the most comfortable position in splits. Then coming back to a seated split, and then I'm going into an elevated split. So obviously you don't have to do all these options, just hold a normal split position or your split position progression while I'm doing this. As you can see, I have a very flexible left leg and can pretty much slide down to split straight away. As I said, you can hold the splits from 30 seconds, you could hold up to 2 minutes if you wanted. And then I'm going into 10 needle pulses, so again focusing on that split strength. So 10 little pulses, and then back into the donkey kicks or the needle kickbacks on hands and knees, another set of 10. Then we're coming out of that position and we're going to do split slides. So if you've got a plate slider, then I'll put your foot on the plate slider. I've got socks on and I'm just going to do 10 slides, lowering down and then back up. Not all the way down, you can obviously go all the way into splits if you want to, but again it's focusing on that hamstring and glute strength. and then I'm sliding all the way down. Next I'm going into the right leg lunge, so 10 pulses in the forward lunge position to begin with. Then coming into a reverse low lunge, flexing the front foot, 10 pulses. Then back into the forwards lunge, back knee off, 10 pulses. You can lift the chest up if you wanted to do these. Then we're coming into a reverse lunge, pulling the back foot in towards the body, and we're just holding this position. Then we're coming into our reverse high lunge, 10 little pulses in this position. And dropping onto the knee, keeping the hips square, as always, sliding down to splits. And again, you've got the option to lean forwards, lean backwards, or elevate the foot, go into an overextended split, which I will do. Just try and relax into it as much as you can. I'm just going to come out of that into an overstretched splits. So this leg is definitely tighter than my other leg. I'm not pushing it too much because my hamstrings do feel a little bit tight because I went on a run over the weekend, which I don't always do, so I don't want to push it too much. And then I'm just sliding back into splits on the ground. So I said you can hold it as long as you like. Just try and really relax into the stretch, deep breaths in and out as you're in position. Then we're going to go into the needle kicks again, so 10 kicks. I think I added an additional set on this side. And into the donkey kickbacks, so lifting the leg all the way up to the ceiling, getting a slight arch in the lower back. Really focusing on that glute contraction so you can work the glutes as well. Back into needle pulses, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're actually going to do another set of the glute kickbacks. I think I did a slightly different order this time. As long as I get the reps in, it's fine. So using a bit of momentum again, contract that glute and relax. So next we're coming into a pike, and we're going to do 10 pike lowers down towards the legs. So keeping the back as straight as you can, it's a hinge at the hip, so we're really working on that hamstring mobility. And on the last one, we're going to lower all the way down, reaching the hands to the feet or beyond the feet, and we're going to do 10 little pulses again. So ballistic stretching is really good just because it works on just overstretching a little bit more than you usually would. So extending that kind of range of motion a little bit beyond your comfort zone, but I would only really suggest doing it if you're quite advanced with your flexibility. Now we're going to a butterfly stretch. So as you can see, the feet are together, knees dropped out to the side, and the chest is lowered down to the ground. I'm just going to hold this. Again, you can hold for up to a minute if you want to. I'm just going to hold it for about 30 seconds. And coming out of that position, we're going to go into our side-to-side lunges, ready for our middle splits. So I'm going to do 10 on each side. Again, you can do these a little bit slow if you want to. I like to do them kind of like ninja style and quite quickly. Try and extend the leg fully as you're coming from one side to the other. And then the last one, we're going to do a hold in the middle. I think I slipped on the mat there. So with the hold in the middle, you want to do a deep squat position, and again we're going to do 10 little pulses. Trying to push the knees out with the hands or the elbows, keeping the chest up, and then coming out that position. Next we're going to go into a frog stretch. We're going to do a bit of PNF stretching. So you're going to really squeeze the knees as hard as you can, squeeze the inner kind of thighs, and then you're going to relax. So you're going to squeeze 5 seconds, relax for 5 seconds until you get as far as you can in this position. Again, you can hold this for up to a minute. Just make sure the knees are staying in line with the hips. I probably won't hold this for a minute just because I'm quite flexible in this position, but obviously pause the video if you want to hold it longer. And coming out of that position, we're going to go into a one leg split, so it's a half frog, half split, and you're going to relax into it as far as you can and just hold that. What you might want to do if you're not quite in your middle splits is you might want to prop a yoga block underneath the knee to make it feel a bit more comfortable, otherwise it's a lot of pressure on the leg which is fully extended. And then coming out of that position and changing legs, obviously you might want to completely come out of it and go into it, you know, from the beginning. Again, make sure both knees are in line with the hips the whole time and just relax into it. Hold it for as long as you need to. Make sure you've got a block under the knee if it feels uncomfortable. And coming out of that position. And we're going to go into a straddle stretch. I was going to get into middle splits. We're going to do straddle lowers. So we're going to do 10 straddle lowers again, a bit like the pike lowers, hinging at the hip, keeping the back straight the whole time, down to the ground into the middle. Then the last one we'll do a hold. And hold, so you can lower the chest all the way down if you can, otherwise you can just have the elbows on the ground, as long as you're feeling a bit of a stretch in this position, and it will prepare us nicely for when we go into our full middle split position laying down. Coming out of that position, widening the legs, and then we're going to drop into the middle split. So you might start up there and lower down, or you might start from a straddle into middle splits if you're super flexible. If you can hold this position, then you've got the option, you can do kind of little buttock raises, which I'll do in a minute. Otherwise, again, just relax into the position, hold as long as you need to. Yeah, these are the lifts I'm doing. So this is actually mainly to work on planches with my hand balancing, but you can do this if you want, because again, you're focusing a bit on overstretching the split position, also kind of contracting the glutes in that position. So I suggest holding for about a minute. Then we're going to go into sitting up middle splits, and you've got the option, if you want to elevate one foot like I'm doing, and then you'll get a bit more of a deep stretch in this position. So again, you can hold this for up to a minute. Just be careful with the pressure on the knee of the foot that's elevated. And then changing sides, so make sure you're in a middle split position. Keeping the chest up the whole time. And turning round, we're going to go back into the first leg. As I said, you can hold them longer, just pause the video. And we're going into a lying down position, which again puts quite a lot of pressure on the leg, which is fully extended, fully straight, and also the one on the ground. So you can use yoga blocks. You can use something which is a little bit high if you need to, or just be careful if it feels like it's a lot of pressure on the knee, and I would suggest coming out of that position. So we're going to change sides and do exactly the same thing. One thing you might want to try and do is focus on having like a micro bend in the knee. This is so you're not ever fully extending it, locking it out, because obviously you don't want it to dislocate. This is something which is really common in weights. When you're doing, for example, straight leg deadlifts, or you're using the leg press, you never want to fully extend the legs. You want always a slight micro bend in the knee. Now we're going to do 10 swing throughs. So lowering the chest down to the ground, coming through a box split position, bringing the chest forwards, and then rolling over. Again, a really good middle splits exercise or drill. So if you're not down in middle splits, it's going to be quite challenging, and you might want to actually use or have someone to help you bring your chest forwards towards the ground. They can grab your hands and kind of almost pull you forwards, obviously not in a way which is going to injure you, just very carefully, so make sure they know what they're doing. Now we're going to go into our back extensions, so we're going to start with our cat-cows, lowering the lumbar spine down to the floor, lifting the thoracic spine up to the ceiling, and then I'm going into little circles. This is what I always do before my back flexibility, my cobras. So now we're going into a cobra or a seal. We're driving the chest backwards, lowering down to the hands and lowering down to the ground. With each stretch, I'm trying to get a little bit more range of motion in the back. And then I'm coming into a reverse, so lowering the shoulders down to the ground. I'm keeping my bottom quite high, so I get a bit of a shoulder stretch as well at the same time. Now I'm going into chest rolls. Again, if you're not super flexible in the back, I would probably suggest leaving these out. So I'm going to do a couple of these. And then back into a cobra position. Now I'm going into a thoracic stretch, so kicking over into a bridge, feet are elevated, and I'm really focusing on pushing through the thoracic spine. I'm doing 10 little pulses. As I've said, this is an intense stretch. This is an advanced session for someone who really does know what they're doing. So I'm kicking out of that position, and I'm going to kick into a normal bridge and do 10 pulses in this position again. And coming out of that position, I'm going to go back into a bridge, and I'm actually going to do feet to hand bridges. Or bridge walk-ins. So I'm going to kick into a normal bridge, then walk my feet into my hands, and then back out. I'm just going to do a couple of repetitions of these. You can do 3 to 5. Again, it's a really nice drill for your back extensions. If you're working on a triple fold, this is a really good one to do. Then I'm just going into rocks. So one of the last things I'm going to do is a split lean back. So I'm just leaning forwards and backwards. And again, I'm just focusing on getting a little bit more range of motion in the back in a split position, because I'm going to go on to bridge kickbacks next. You can lean all the way back if you want to. I don't really like to do that because sometimes I get a bit of a sore neck if I do. So I'm doing 10 on each side, making sure that the body is staying square again. I'm just doing gentle kind of lean backs, nothing too intense. And then coming out of that position. Going back into a bridge position, I'm just going to finish with bridge kicks. So I'm going to do 10 on each side, trying to kick that leg to vertical, keeping the weight over the shoulders, and trying to keep the leg in the air as straight as possible. Then changing sides. Side's not quite so good. As you can see, I should have pushed the armpits to the wall behind me a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed that session. You should be feeling limber, agile now, and I will see you for tomorrow's conditioning handstand session. Bye!